Hi there, welcome back to Ears to the East, where Neon has a subject. Neon, do the intro.
Yes, it was kind of quite amazing one actually. We were watching some BiSH the other day on the channel, and obviously with the Ina stuff as well coming out and all that, we were talking, and it was actually Mr. Loon that did the subject matter for this one, and he wanted us to discuss and kind of debate whether or not BiSH was underappreciated. Now, obviously, with BiSH coming to an end, I feel like BiSH is being talked about probably more than they ever have, which is quite a shame considering we're talking about them now when they're finished more than we were talking about them when they were active. So we know that you're a big lover of BiSH. So like
After my 15 minutes of fame being on NHK, talking about BiSH on their special, and like of those 15 seconds, half of them were me going, and then talking about stuff that I knew nothing about. Thanks for the edit, guys. Thanks, NHK. And yeah, well, by the way, big thank you to everyone at home who must have enjoyed finally hearing an intro led by the man, the Neon. So yeah, well, it's a fair subject matter. And like you say, Iron has been doing a lot of solo stuff. She's had a lot of solo stuff already, but obviously it's now, I think with all of the members, they've kind of drew that line in the sand, said after this point, BiSH is over, as they say. And now all of us are starting, putting out announcements straight away. Obviously, with Ina, it was a bit easier for her to hit the ground running because she already had a career and she just needed to basically just put some new stuff out, and the audience was already sitting there waiting. And we can talk a little bit in a minute about what the individual members are doing. But as to the question of whether BiSH was underappreciated, that's a question that I think has always been very interesting. Every time I talk about how popular BiSH is or was, I see so many conflicting comments. People saying, I've had people say, oh, BiSH weren't even the most popular act on WAC, which I totally disagree with. I think that one's fairly cut and dry. However, you hear people saying that, people saying, oh, they're only popular in Japan. Oh, they're massively popular overseas. I mean, like when I was on that NHK World thing, it was because they were saying, oh, BiSH, this group who are so popular overseas. And I don't know whether that was them trying to make a self-fulfilling prophecy or what. But they had other people talking about. So it's a group where I think it's very hard to really put a pin in how popular they are. I mean, another thing to point out is obviously they had some major singles. Look at things like Orchestra, Promise to Star. These are songs that were massive, but at the same time, they were famous for being something much more niche. Most of their fans went to them for songs that were very different from that. So I think in covering so many bases and appealing to so many different people, it becomes very hard to know how popular they are. Now, for me, the gauge will always be on that night in last December when I went to, I was going to the Eggman in Shibuya to see, which is a venue, just in case that sounds really weird. I was going to the Eggman, the man who distributes my eggs. He stands there with a chicken and shakes it, and then gives me a no. So I was going to.
I'm glad you clarified that. I was expecting Sega to come rolling in with like a copyright strikes, cease and desist order.
Oh
yeah,
no, that's Jim Carrey, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
When you said Eggman, and that's the first thing I thought about. Sonic. We're talking about Sonic now. Well, suddenly this is a gaming channel.
if you ever go to the Eggman in Shibuya, that's what you'll be thinking. But I went to the Eggman venue in Shibuya, clarified that time, to see Trident and Fleur Fleur, now Folia. And at the same time, right next to it, in the massive stadium amphitheater in Yoyogi Park, BiSH were playing. And so to walk to Eggman from the station that I came into on the Harajuku side, you basically just walk around the amphitheater. And the number of BiSH fans, I mean, obviously it's a big venue. If it's going to be full, it's always going to be a lot of people around there. But it was just amazing to see the huge, vast number of people. And there were people from all over the world as well, obviously majority Japanese, but there were people from all over the world. And it was just amazing seeing it and just seeing, I'm thinking, I've been to Bandmade shows. I mean, again, I've been to see Bandmade before. The other night when I went again, I went and saw them at Line Shibuya, which again is one of those free venues. The Eggman, Yoyogi Park, and Line Shibuya. They are all right, literally on the same junction as each other. They literally, you can see all three of them from standing in the middle of one junction. And went to Line Shibuya to see Bandmade, and that was a huge concert. it had nothing compared to this. I mean, this gig was absolutely vast, and it really sort of reinforced that. And then on the day of BiSH's last concert, I was on the train and I just saw loads of fans on the trains, and they had the merch and they had like their bags that they were bringing with them were just full of keychains and stuff. And yes, obviously they're going to be showing their merch. It's the last concert, but still, it just kind of showed you that this is one of those bands who they really are everywhere. And there'll be days when you're walking around, you'll just see someone in a BiSH shirt. Yeah. And I think it's easy to miss the fact that actually BiSH, they're not your sort of one of your 48 groups or anything like that, but they were definitely always present in the public eye. And I think maybe the reason it's not so obvious is because they are counterculture enough that it might not be the sort of group you casually admit to liking. I mean, if you've ever seen the lyrics for Non-Tie Up and the various parts of their body they're talking about licking and sticking things into, then you're probably going to understand why this is not the sort of group you bring up in casual conversation. Oh yes, I was listening to some BiSH on my headphones. Start quoting those fucking lyrics. Yeah. So
that sounds like a good reason to me to bring it up in conversation.
Well, in polite companies such as ours. But yeah, so I would basically cap that off by saying, were BiSH underappreciated? I guess it's very hard to judge and would depend on the context to which you were trying to monitor that. But I think they certainly were popular.
Yeah, okay, let me rephrase it or rejig it slightly then. Do you think BiSH are more like, I don't know, more appreciated or maybe looked back fondly on because they've come to an end now more than maybe where they were active? Like that appreciation for them being when they're active. Maybe when they've stopped, the people are like, oh, hang on, well, I quite like BiSH.
I mean, I don't think it's impossible. I have no reason directly to believe that. I haven't seen anything to show that. But then again, we all know when a band comes to an end, especially when as much effort's been put into the end as Whack put into BiSH. I mean, it was a year and a half winding the group down. So much advertising, so much putting around it. Obviously, there was stuff that we liked, like that year of 12 months of a single every single month with a music video and everything, which was just superb. The best run of songs, in my opinion, throughout their entire career. You had things like that. Then you had things like BiSH the Next, which I thought was an utterly cynical, just demonstration of what a fucking money-grabbing bastards Whack are and how they'll shit on the grave of their own group just to get a quick buck. Yes, I said it. I'll say it again. So, for me, it was a mixture of things, but there's no doubt they certainly were put in the public eye. Did that make them more popular? I don't know. How many fans usually come on board for a group that they know is about to end? I think it just I think just the noise was louder, but I think the group was still as popular as they ever were. I think it's just that there was more noise. There, like anything, if there's more happening, you notice it, you see it more. But I don't know if that necessarily. I'm sure they got new fans, but I don't think that was just suddenly they blew up in that last year or two. That certainly wasn't the impression I got.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then obviously looking to the future a little bit. Let's. Yes. I'm going to keep putting you under a little bit of pressure, a little bit more. Obviously, the girls are kind of all going their separate ways. Most of them are probably, you'd imagine, are doing like solo careers, or they've got projects in the works. They're all pretty busy.
Holy shit! Can you see the steam coming off of this? This is fucking hot.
I just can't believe how much coffee's in that jug, and you're about to swig it all.
Bro, you haven't.
I'm half expecting you to put the red cup down and just start swigging from that.
There's another one.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ. I just had coffee as well. I don't feel anywhere near as bad. But obviously, with the girls' careers and all that coming to a head now, most of them are still signed up to Whack. A lot of them contracts probably coming to an end now, and they're probably going on to do their other things, possibly sign up with other labels and all that. Out of everybody that you think could be going on to do a career, or possibly what they are doing in their own projects, is there anybody that stands out from BiSH that you're particularly excited about?
Well, actually, this is a really interesting point. Now, I don't know if I can find the announcement like right in front of me. I'm gonna have a little look. But you mentioned about various members being signed to Whack still. Now, I'm just going to have a little look because they put out a announcement, and maybe I can find it. But in actuality, I think more than half of them, I think probably 4 of them have actually left Whack.
Yeah,
And
I
I was quite shocked and
believe.
impressed at how many left.
Yeah, I believe that a few of them as well, the ones that haven't left, are still under contract. But from what
Well,
I understand, they intend to leave when their contract is up.
I wouldn't blame them as well. Obviously, I think there's I was going to say Munchausen syndrome, not that. What's it? What's like Stockholm syndrome when you're trapped with, and I think they've been trapped with Wax so long that in a way they're kind of like used to just that kind of style of business. But in all fairness, I think they surely they're going to want to get away from a lot of the nonsense that comes with Whack. And I know there's a lot of people who really like them as a label, and I like a lot of the groups and music that comes out of Whack. I just don't like the way they operate as a company. And so looking through them, I'll try and remember this. And apologies, I haven't got the announcement in front of me. I did a whole video breaking this down, but I will. So I'll give my preferences. I mean, when it comes to a Uni D, now obviously a Uni D is a massive factor. Outside of Ina, she's probably the person everyone's looking at. Obviously, she's got Pedro, the band, which was doing quite well. And she's the only one who was like, I'm just going to make my own company. That's the way the announcement came across. Now, it was interesting because like Ina, she could have just picked up and done an announcement, oh, here's a new Pedro album coming out. But instead she was like, no, I'm putting some stuff together. So it seems to me like, I don't know, but I think there is a lot of potential, possibly, depending on how she plays it. I think a Unity's got the experience and the connections that she could make something really interesting. And if we look back at this in 10 years' time, she could be like, Ina could be a rich like singer, but a Unity could be a fucking business leader. She could be the one who comes out really trumps. But we don't know. She could have like a fledgling record company that flounders around and she just ends up playing with a band for a bit. We really don't know. That was interesting. Chi Chi, I agree with so many people. Chi Chi, I think, was always underrated. She's a stunning singer, amazing singer. I believe she's still with Whack though, which concerns me. I think she's one of the ones who's still with Whack. I really hope they give her good songs, because my fear is that they'll just keep on playing around, because BiSH, Whack have this thing where they keep on trying to, sort of bring back to life things that are gone.
Repeatedly beating the dead horse.
Die. Yeah, they can't let a cash cow die. And they don't seem to have the creative vision to do anything. They had one archetype, it worked well with BiSH, and they haven't managed to properly recreate it. And my fear is that they'll just say, well, Gigi, she's still here and everyone knows her. Let's just keep on doing a BiSH style stuff for her. So I really hope she gets some good writers and gets to do something different. I'm at Scar, she's got like a TV thing that's going to be really interesting. Lin is absolutely nuts. And I love the fact that she's now using what I believe is her real name. I mean, for anything else, Misato is a beautiful name. I love that she's using her real name. She's got such a lovely name. And I'm glad she's using it.
You stole my point there. I said this before we recorded. I'm most excited for Lin. I love how you got that in. You're like, yeah. I'm sat here like, well, I have nothing to say now.
that came. I will say that came to my head because briefly before we were talking, you said that, and didn't I stop you and say stop saying points that you're going to ruin for the actual stream? But actually, well, I want to hear it. But before I carry on, because I've got a few more points to make. But before I carry on, I am interested because obviously you're relatively new to the whole BiSH thing.
I wouldn't say relatively new. We came across BiSH, and like many bands on the channel, they get.
But this is the first time you've looked in more detail.
More detail, yeah, and it's a shame that it's kind of come more at the back end of their careers more than like when they were. Because I've known for a while now, like you said, they've had this massive, almost 2-year wind down a little bit, and at some point even I'm like, have they finished yet? Have they broken up yet? And then people are like, no, they're still going. They've got another year until they break up. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, like the slowest death ever.
The final single thing really bothered me, the way they had Zuto and then Bye Bye Show, and then they had Ignorant Arrogance, which just came out of nowhere. Like, why are they now doing a theme tune after they've had 2 goodbye songs? And then they did 2 covers of the band who's supposed. It's like they had like 5 goodbye songs. It was just like this is Whack.
I just wish they got pushed that much when they were active. This is the thing that bothered. This is the thing that really annoys me, because I feel like they never got that much attention when they were like, okay, they did get attention.
did. I think it's just like, it's like any of these things.
maybe,
They were never like baby metal
Yeah.
scale. They were never one of those things that everyone was seeing. I think if you were either lucky enough to come across them by proxy, and then it was like, wow, this group is super doing everything, or you just weren't that lucky.
I think as well that it probably comes down to, like you said, whack, and like I said, they're like, oh shit, well, look, this is gonna die in a year. Let's milk this continuously as much as we freaking can.
In some ways, they did a good job. In some ways, it was overly cynical. But I'm intrigued about what stood out to you, and especially how you came to the Lin Lin conclusion, because Lin Lin, I think Lin Lin is underrated.
Believe it or not, it was her voice. We did, I've done like a couple of reactions now, and it's her voice that always stands up to me. Her voice is actually, for somebody that looks a little bit like
nuts.
Yeah, like
crazy,
nuts, like punk nuts, crazy.
Off the fucking rocker.
Just like completely like the odd one out in this girl group.
Yeah.
Like completely. I was really surprised by her voice, and I really, really liked it. And also how high her voice is as well in comparison to the other girls, which was a shock. I was totally expecting that to go the other way. I was expecting her to be a little bit low down, or maybe
growly.
A bit growly or something like that. So the fact that she's like 2 octaves higher than everybody else, I'm kind of like, what? I'm like, I didn't see that coming.
But you're right, she's so punk. I mean, the video for Pyo, she looks like she's about to beat the shit out of the cameraman. Just like jumping at the camera, like it's like she's gonna nut that motherfucker.
Like I said, she could beat me any day. But
and Steve
we're banned.
As if we were monetized to begin with.
Yeah, as if we were monetized to begin with. But no, she really, really stood out actually more for her vocals, just for her overall look. But I was really surprised with like how clean and actually how high her vocals are. I actually said this debate the other day. I turned around and said she would be like literally prime candidate for like a like an anime franchise. Just because I don't know if she'd want to do it
as a character or
as a character.
I think
like seriously. Yeah. Because she's got that voice for it, like without putting like, you know, the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the anime voice on, the squeal, the high pitched squeal intentionally. She actually has like a really natural high voice compared to all the rest of the girls, which was kind of shocking. I was kind of looking at her and I was like, you know what? I'm more interested to see what she does than the rest of the girls, with the exception of can't speak, with the exception of Aina.
I think that Lin Lin has kept it mysterious enough. I did not follow up enough on what she announced on the website. I had it. I was between a few things when the announcement came out. I had a quick look, and just what I really loved is I looked at the like website link that was put up for her project, whatever she's working on at the moment. Yeah. I just remember looking at it, and it says she's doing. That's right. She's doing all kinds of artistic stuff. So I don't think it's limited to music. I think she's just gone into just generally being a creative in her own. Probably, I mean, she might just be sitting on the money she's made and just enjoying it to have little creative projects. But for me, I was just so happy to see her real name, which, like I say, she's got a beautiful name. And I just really lovely to see that name and just see her looking just like her quirky self. And there was something about the whole announcement. I might be totally wrong, but I just got this vibe like she's someone who's been kind of doing the BiSH thing, and it just felt like she's free. And there was just this look of a woman who was just like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna probably fun now.
Probably the one thing coming into my major point. Yeah,
I should say, not that she didn't enjoy it, but there's always that thing where you're sort of doing a certain role for a certain amount of time, and then you just want to expand. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to touch on the other point as well that we were talking about beforehand. That the one thing that
what the fuck is happening outside that window?
I don't know. Some
Godzilla's coming.
I know some kids learned to ride a bike, and it's just been constant the last week or two. I want to go outside my door and drop kick in. If Italy suddenly stops, I'm probably in prison because I've drop kicked some 16-year-old in the face.
He's 16 years old and he's just learned how to ride a bike. Anyway, carry on.
So, which is legal, by the way. You can be 16 and ride a bike.
I thought you meant drop kicking a kid in the face was legal. I was about to say, I need to come back. Anyway, carry on.
In the words of Palpatine, I'll make it legal.
Do it.
Do it. Ultimate power.
Drop kicking kids in the face, that is quite about. I will get you to the point. Sorry, continue.
I know what I'm talking about now. Yeah, that was the one thing that I liked about BiSH, but I probably that I didn't like the most about BiSH as well. I'm completely. I'm just moved on off a tangent and I'm lost
Okay,
myself.
so
But
just
so
in
yes,
general
so
with BiSH, what drew you to BiSH? I mean, what would because I've never really heard your thoughts about them as a group. Was there something like about them as a group that really?
it was BiSH is always a
Why
weird.
do you think people liked them? What? Because I know I've talked about this group
Well,
ad infinitum. I'm wondering what you think people liked about them.
I feel like you hit the nail on the head before. I feel like they were certainly a little bit different. Probably outside the norm without being like too drastically outside the tangent. And they had a bit of everything. They had a bit of pop, they had a bit of punk, a bit of rock, and they always had the ability to mix it up, I think. And I think a lot of people resonate with that. BiSH, for me, and it's a hard one because I always feel like they're too poppy sometimes, that like proper hardcore rockers maybe don't take them seriously. But then they've got like a really, really lot of good rock stuff that you can't help but not fall in love with at the same time. So they really do.
I'm trying to find the name of the song that I need to recommend to
Yeah,
you, and anyone at home will know what I'm going for. Probably.
yeah, they really do sit on like like have a delicate balance between a seesaw of different genres. And maybe that's to their detriment, I probably think, because I think for something that a lot of people like about them, then they go off and do something completely fucking different for the next song, and you're kind of like,
Yeah,
oh, and then they'll come back 2 songs later and do something you'll like again. You'll be like, yeah. So yeah, they were always a bit backwards or forwards for me.
I think that's always a risk because when you're doing something like that, you're always challenging your audience. Like, well, look, I mean, you've got to be into musical variation, not just one style of music. But for me, that just all kind of helped. That all made it much more exciting. That fact that you didn't really know what you were going to get from them, and it could actually be genuinely different between songs. I mean, I was going to say, for anyone at home, when I did my reactions, I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right. I'm just checking now. But I did a reaction to, so the first one I did was Monsters Live. And then I think the second one I did was Promise the Stars. So I was like, oh, okay, they got a nice ballad, and there's a girl and she's running, in slow motion, and it's all very Japanese music video. And then the next one I listened to, I always forget the name. It's the one that basically has death in the title. And it's the one where Momoko becomes a zombie and they just start shooting her. And that I was like, and it's just screaming, and I was like, "This is fucking amazing!" Like, it's the hardest thing I've ever heard in my life. And yeah, I think there is that variation, but I will therefore add, because you asked me a question, and I will answer it. You asked me, who am I most excited about? Anyone who knows my channel, get in the comments and type it now before you can tell me that you said it before I said it. Hashtag no bias. I am most excited for Momoko because I think I think Momo is genuinely the most underrated member of the group, original lineup member. For me, the problem is that her voice was always overshadowed by the bigger, louder voices. But I think there was something about when she sang, she didn't have like this big melodic girl band voice. She sounded like someone who was just singing. It was very personal, like she was just singing to you. When sometimes you hear someone in their voice, it sounds like they're just singing, just very genuinely. There's no big expressions. It's just and there was something lovely about that. Plus, she had this little bit of a conflicted image. Wack had set her up as, oh, she's the small, cute one, but she doesn't want to be cute. And I think that was kind of like, there was an exaggeration, but there was a little bit of reality to that. Obviously, she's the smallest member of the group, but I think she was just kind of kind of like the sort of person you could just sit down and have a beer with, chilled, fun. You saw lots of photographs of her hanging out with all kinds of different people from Bandmate, all kinds of different groups that she hung out with, as did the other members. But it was kind of clear that Momoko was always friends with lots of people, and she just seemed to be that person who was not big image, but like that. And then obviously we found out over time that she was an author and that she really, cared about writing, and that she, this was something she was really into. And then when BiSH finished, you go to her website, and her website is just so fucking charming. It's just so nice, so funny. And yeah, it's lovely. And the weird thing is, although I would love her to do music, I don't know if she will, but I think she, of all of them, is the person who I feel most like you can kind of just say, yeah, she kind of the one who always feel like there's a most of a personal connection with, like we kind of know who she really is. And so for me, I'm just kind of really excited to see what she does, because I think she's such an interesting example of what happens when a creative person gets to the end of being part of something big and spectacular that we all loved, and then just wants to go and just do her own thing, which I think also applies for Lin Lin. And so many of them in their own different ways. But yeah, from a music career, obviously Aina is always going to be great. I really look forward to seeing what Chi Chi does. Just all of them. Like Atsuko is going to be hilarious. She's got such a humor. You know, Misato, as we can now call Lin Lin. She's going to be doing her artistic things. Aina, Ayuni's going to have her own company. Chi Chi's got that brilliant voice. Who knows? I mean, I'm excited about all of them. But personally, I'm really wishing a lot of good luck for Momoko. I think she just comes across as a thoroughly lovely person, and hashtag no bias. I don't even have to do the hashtag no bias anymore because they've broken up. They're separate people. I like that person who used to be in BiSH. I hope she has a bloody good career.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fair enough. One of the things I was going to touch up on, which I remembered my point while you were chatting, was the one thing I always
lamenting.
I know. The one thing I always thought about with BiSH was I always thought there was a slight bias with them. Where the attention was always mainly on Aina and the other two singers, and I felt like the rest of the group got a little bit, got a little bit shafted. So the other two being Momoka and Sent.
Oh, really? See, I would have thought they're like Chi Chi and Ayuni, because
Ayuni as well. Yeah, to be fair. But I always felt like, especially like Lingman, but I always felt like a few of them didn't get as much time in the spotlight as they should have.
I thought this was interesting because you alluded to this when we just before we started recording. For me, one of the things that I always liked most about BiSH was considering how different the members are, how they all seem to have a part in most of the songs. So I always felt it was kind of nice how balanced it was. But I can see your point. And I'd really love to know what people say in the comments about this one, because I think I mean, a lot of focus was put on Aina because she had a bit of a celebrity, as was the case for Ayuni. And of course, you're getting the latecomers, the people who weren't in the original lineup, suddenly jumping up to the front. And Chi Chi, I think, just because she had the voice, but I don't think she was ever as much of a natural celebrity as those two. So again, I think that we just saw more of Ayuni and Aina.
Yeah.
Momoko, well, just because of her presence in the band, and because she was like a little bit different looking, I think that always kind of made her look like she stand up. But I would agree that Atsuko and Lin Lin always felt like a little bit like they were kind of there, but they weren't getting as much natural attention.
Yeah.
I guess you get as much attention as you scream for.
That's always it. Maybe they were just comfortable with it. Who knows? I think this is a good place to end it. Let me know in the comments.
Yeah, let's see what people think about this. A lot of points we brought up. Who are you most excited about, and why?
Who are you most excited for? Was BiSH underappreciated? Do you reckon? I'd like to see some comments and all that on that one.
I would love to see your comments, even though you're all, I'm sure you're all going to be extremely balanced and tell me that Momoko is the best.
Possibly,
so yeah,
possibly, yeah. No, it's a good little debate. Thank you as well, for Mr. Loon for bringing up this one. I think,
cheers, Loon.
I think it's a good talk to have as well. And George, go on. I'll let you do the. Seeing I did the intro for this one, I'll let you do the outro. Go on.
It's like I'd never get to do the outro. So, thank you everyone for tuning in. Get your opinions in, and until we see you next time, keep your ears to the east.